Hello, my name is Dairbayev Adlet. I'm a second-year MA student in Eurasian Studies at Nazarbayev University, and behind me you see a gorgeous view of Zhastebay Lake and a road that leads to a resort located all around it. My research is focused on the commodification of heritage that takes place here, specifically the commodification that takes the form of local tour guides who offer to drive tourists around the scenic route while telling them all about the old myths and legends that surround the local landscape. Though it might seem quaint that simple storytelling can affect the heritage of local culture, I argue that it does inform a large portion of it, especially the self-identity, often based on one's own cultural heritage. My argument is based on the interviews I took from locals, and for the sake of brevity, we will limit it to two people who can be considered gatekeepers of local culture, and overview of tour guides and other participants where necessary. And now we're in a cave called Conraulie, or Aulietas, where during the Great Flood, a saint named Conr took shelter. This is the place where the gatekeeper of Zhastebay, as we will call him, can be usually found. This is the furthest point of a tour you will be taking on before circling back to the resort through some more scenic landscape. Here, the gatekeeper of Zhastebay will not only tell people about this sacred place, but also guide them through to the end of the cave, where a small pool of water is gathered in a natural stone basin, which is said to have healing properties, which is all par for the course for such a place. But more interestingly, he will also ask them if their guides told them the correct versions of stories during their trips. This is because, coming back to the framework of commodification of heritage of my research, this gatekeeper positions himself as an inheritor of tradition, fully embracing the role of a gatekeeper and scorning the tour guides for putting monetary gain above the edification of their clients, but only edification in a correct manner, which he oversees. He claims authenticity and pedigree in his knowledge of local culture, and his particular approach, or rather an adaptive niche within the commodification of culture that takes place here, is that of preservation of that heritage through spread of what he claims to be a long lineage of culture represented by these myths and legends. Another gatekeeper is located near Lake Toreghor, which only in recent years has become a tourist destination. Actually, now this is the furthest point of a tour you'd be taking on. This gatekeeper said that he recently helped Pavlodar State University researchers finish a dig abandoned in the 80s of a Scythian burial where we are standing now. And just over there are several balbaltas, which are a different kind of kurgan stele, which he has admitted have been brought over here so that tourists can have all of their historical artifact viewing in one convenient place. You can see then that the gatekeeper of Toreghor recognizes the importance of preservation of cultural heritage, but he also recognizes the potential of its commodification. He once even set out to change the narrative surrounding some of the local landmarks to make them more approachable and even didactic as stories to children. With help of others, they held seminars for the tour guides, but he admitted that the tour guides would leave mid-lecture because they had a tour to take care of. So we will file his approach as that of making local culture more approachable and shareable with others. However, it is the tour guides that facilitate the commodification of heritage that takes place here. And with both gatekeepers looking down on them because of their lack of credibility, it is interesting to see that many participants, even the gatekeepers, admitted that not many people cared for local landmarks as part of culture or heritage before the tourists came. Though the tour guides themselves admit to making up parts of the stories or making up interesting details for the listeners, even the gatekeepers were not able to clearly answer where they learned these stories from and where they learned these myths and legends from, given vague explanations of how it's all in the books or how it's been passed down from unspecified older generations or some maybe canonized texts such as Mashkhor Zobkopeyev's Kozokhorpesh Bayansulu. So it is not unreasonable that the heritage that is being commodified has come to exist because of the commodification itself. Not entirely, of course, but as it is now, yes. The process of commodification in this case is telling stories to tourists, projecting an image of cultural heritage, which is then associated with the local culture, which in turn internalizes that image and adopts its heritage as genuine, closing the feedback loop and reaffirming the image that has been created by the commodification. So the heritage, at parts authentic and preserved, at parts changed, at parts even imagined, is not idly affected by the commodification because it came to be as it is mainly as a result of that commodification. It has been canonized now because of that cultural feedback loop of projection and internalization. It's sort of a chicken and egg situation. And what results from that is where previously people couldn't care less about the rocks lying around the place. Now, if you didn't take a picture in front of Kempretas, you didn't even come here. I know I did.